So you're having a really good video day?
First time ever.
So tell people the video that you were so excited
Well,
about.
I feel like, and I know we talked about this so many times, but I feel like we're always trying to catch the algorithm and like what makes a good video and how to get more views and all that. And I feel like we've always said there's no really like formula for it, right? Some just do well and
No,
some
there
don't.
is. There to
I
a
mean,
degree.
to a degree. So
There's
like
security.
you can,
There's ingredients that go
yes,
into it, like.
but not all of those ingredients will make a video pop. You can have all of those ingredients and still have a video that's performing not great,
True.
right?
I'm two videos in right now that did not pop.
Well, I guess, and also I'm talking more for like Instagram. YouTube's a whole different world, but I mean, you can both. It works for both, but I feel like for Instagram, my views have been like consistent across all of mine. It depends what I do. So like if I do a before and after, it usually does pretty well. Well, it depends. If it's like a minute long, all those videos, I get a lot lower views. So actually on Reels, the quicker the video, the more views you get, which makes sense because if you have a 6-second video, sometimes people loop it through like 4 or 5 times and that is a view every time, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
So it's like, it makes more sense, but
It's a hack. What a lot of people are doing on TikTok.
yeah,
They'll start they'll start the video with an intro, and like today I'm going to show you how to do this. And then when they show how to do it, that last scene they record it from where they left off, and be like, and that's how you do that. And
then-
today I'm going to show you how to do.
yes.
So you kind of loop.
which makes sense. Like you can get a ton of views, but the thing is, that's not going to translate to more followers because it's the same people just rewatching it and going like,
tricking the
"Oh,
system.
that's garbage." Yeah, and then they know they've been tricked, so now they don't want to go follow you.
Well, I don't know if they know they've been tricked. I think maybe after hearing this on the podcast, they'll be
maybe.
like, "I've been bamboozled." But
Yeah.
the reality is sometimes people like I'll rewatch a few things
Yeah.
just because I don't know. And I mean,
I've done that too, where like I'm like, wait a sec, I have to rewatch that one more time because it was either too fast or like I was reading the words during the video and then I had to rewatch it, which is fine. But the ones where you could like clearly know that's like they were doing that on purpose, you're like, well. But what I feel like is more a better gauge of like how well your video, the quality, I guess, of your video and how people like it is the likes and comments you get because those are the people that are engaging. And so I've had videos with a lot lower views but way more likes and way more comments than some other videos that have done like really well view wise, which I think is really interesting.
What type of videos are you creating that you're kind of grading them?
Well, so I have like a few different, I guess, categories, you would say. Genres of video. So I have my like kind of humorous videos where I either do the voice dub or it's just a silly one. And those always tend to have much higher viewership, but and likes, but not as much like comment engagement or whatever because they're so fast. So like my last one was maybe 5 or 6 seconds long, and those are the ones people are like will watch back and be like, or tag somebody in it and be like, this is funny, like go watch this, The ones some of my before and afters have done pretty well depending on how long they are. So if it's like under 30 seconds, they'll do better than like my 1 minute, which I always thought like the longer the video, the more you can showcase of that. Like it's so hard to condense a huge project into 30 seconds,
The human consumption, I always wonder about this. So our attention span has been getting shorter and shorter.
Oh yeah, that's why these 6-second clips are the ones that are
back
the most popular.
Back, what is it, even 15 years ago, they were saying how like, most of these sitcoms and all that stuff, they're 30 minutes long because of our microwave style, quick TV dinner, attention span. And then fast forward 15 years later, because the industry that I'm in, I see the metrics. I see the real life data of every video, whether it's Facebook video, Instagram video, or YouTube, and it'll show me how many people saw this piece of content. And then it'll tell me, first of all, how many impressions they got. So meaning how many desktop computer scrolls landed on a person's, phone, or their the potential of seeing, right? It's like
is that what impressions is? I always wondered, like, what does that mean? Because
so impressions are, think about it as a billboard on the side of the road, right?
Oh, right.
That billboard's there, and let's say that road sees 1 million cars a day, right? Those 1 million cars are impressions, but not 1 million people saw that billboard, right? So 1 million people had the opportunity, the exposure to be able to see it.
How do they know that?
Because they know if you're on your phone, it shows. So for example, YouTube knows that when I log into my YouTube app, or one of my favorite things is watch YouTube on the TV, and I log into YouTube and I go to my homepage, and I'm scrolling what I want to watch. YouTube knows that your stuff was tagged during that scroll. Like it was featured. So your eyes didn't lock on it, but they had the opportunity to see it.
Interesting.
Now in the relationship to the billboard, when the person decides to call that number that's advertised on the billboard, that's considered a view, right? So that's the difference between impressions and views. And
interesting. I always wondered. I was like what's the difference?
And then the metrics breaks down even more. Again, this is all human psychology, where it's called a click-through rate, or CTR. And what that tells you is based off of how many impressions were created from a video, or maybe a picture or whatever. Well, video is a better example. From the video, how many people clicked on that video. Now, yes, you could say that counts as a view, but what the CTR click-through rate is measuring is the efficacy of your thumbnail. So there's typically a percentage. The percentage varies, obviously, how big of a pool you're measuring from. But on average, like the conversations that creators have is 5% click-through rate out of, let's say, 1 million viewers is considered a good thumbnail. Anything under 3, you should consider redoing your thumbnail. So that's another measuring rod where you go like, well, is it because my thumbnail's not catchy? Is it because, yes, there's a measuring rod. And so I guess where I'm going with this story is 15 years ago, we had these 30-minute TV dinner conversations or attention spans. In these metrics, they will show me like, okay, so in 1 minute of your video, let's say Facebook video, 500,000 people watched it. And then and then it goes 1 minute, 3 minute, 5 minute, right? And then the rest of the thing, right? And then 10 minute, I think. And you could see a crazy drop off. You go, whoa, 1 minute, 500,000 people. And then you go to the 3 minute, and now you're at 250,000. Or 350,000. And then you go to the 3 minute part and it's like 175,000 people are watching. And so like I've said this on different people's podcasts, but I was like, as a content creator, you're competing for people's attention span. So what I'm kind of nervous and scared about is if we multiply to another 15 to 30 years, how much shorter is the attention span getting? And I think it's going to get only shorter. And the only reason I think that is because we have this platform TikTok that really it's been around for a while, but it really only exploded in the last maybe 3 to 5 years. And because it started as a joke that people would be like, what am I freaking on TikTok? I'm not going on TikTok. And now like grown people are like, and I like TikTok because I get to digest videos on a lot shorter pace, or I'm sorry, at a faster pace at a shorter duration.
Right. Well, and how much shorter can attention span get then, if those are the videos we're watching right now?
So 7-second videos are doing really well.
Yeah. By the way, that light is really bright. It's a little distracting. It's hard to. That's better. Thanks.
Well,
I won't look as glowy.
You won't look as glowy.
It was just hard to watch you because it's like.
I was wondering why you kept looking off to the side.
And then every time I look at it and look back at you, like it's like hard to see you because the
blinding
glare.
Yeah. You want to wear sunglasses on this podcast? So that's the part that's wild to me is, just competing for people's attention. Now it's not to say that.
I mean, shows are still around. People still consume those hour-long shows like Yellowstone. that's about an hour long, and we would still watch.
But you don't put Yellowstone on social media.
No, I guess I'm talking about in general, not in social media.
Well, in our attention spans, it's not necessarily that our attention spans are getting shorter and shorter, because we're seeing a direct correlation of people desiring to have longer format content, and the correlation we're seeing that is through podcasting. Podcasting more than are so much more powerful and so much more popular right now than any time before.
Because you could multitask while you listen to a podcast.
You can multitask, but also like there's less and less people who are listening to music and just almost not even paying attention to things, that they would rather digest something that has more solidity to it, something a little bit more of meat and potatoes to it. They might learn something, be entertained by something, experience an emotion, or experience some kind of intellect. Now, so that's not to say our attention is getting shorter and shorter.
I think it's just in terms of social media.
I think there are smart people, and I think there's dumb people.
And we will see who wins.
The dummies are on TikTok, and that's how they learn about anything. And then the smart people are listening to this podcast.
Yes.
I'm kidding.
So if you're listening,
shout out to you.
Shout out to the smarties.
It's cool. I really do like the fact that podcasts are so. I mean, there's a wild statistic out there how many podcasts are out there, and it's there's only a small percentage of them who are like monetized. So it's not like everybody's making a bunch of money off podcasts. It's such a small percentage.
It's interesting because everything was like going towards video, but yet this audio stuff is still just as relevant. And I mean, people do watch the video podcasts, but I feel like because people can like work or multitask while listening to a podcast, it has become so popular.
I think people are being efficient.
Yeah.
Right now, I don't want to generalize everybody because
well,
I don't.
You are.
Well, no, but this is a good point. But I don't want to generalize to give more people credit that they deserve, because
they don't deserve it.
Listen, there's, like I said, and this is a very cruel way to say it, but there's smart people and there's dumb people. The dumb people are making poor choices, and they're getting dumb. They're the ones that are dating the wrong people. They're the one, and their life is in chaos.
You're
right?
Spicy today.
You know why? Jordan Peterson got me spicy. I'm reading his book right now, the 12 the Rules of Life, and I just finished the chapter.
Audiobook?
It's an audiobook, yeah. And he was talking about one of the lessons, one of the rules of life is the balance between chaos and order. And I think I'm using completely wrong terminology for dumb and smart people, but there's people who make poor choices by being in constant chaos. They're dating the wrong people. They're making poor financial choices. They're making poor friendships, choices of the people they're around. They're making, you know what I mean? Their chaos is constantly being fed.
Interesting.
And then there's people who are practicing order in their life. They want to budget their checkbook, which nobody uses checkbooks.
Balance the checkbook.
They're planning for to grow their savings account in a world where an average person can't absorb an extra $500 expense. They're eating healthy. They're intermittent fasting. They're working out. They're taking supplements. They're listening to audiobooks. They're listening to podcasts. They're learning stuff. They're excited about learning. That's order. Now, JP is talking about. By the way, you like the JP?
JP, are you guys friends?
Yeah, he's a PhD, and I call it J Pizzles. But he also talks about how you can't have just order, right? Because it's in a world that's unpredictable. You're constantly trying to reach order, and when you're constantly staying in order, you don't experience anything new.
Right.
So you need, but then also if you have nothing but chaos, then the human person can't keep up with putting out fires. That's just too exhausting. So you have to, in order to, again, the correlation to order and chaos and why you need to have a good balance is like you can't constantly live in a safety bubble and then be isolated and then not learn something new. If you didn't take a risk, you come out of your comfort zone, you probably wouldn't have the freedom of having your own company, right? If you didn't take the risk of having kids, again, chaos, then you wouldn't experience this weird feeling of family and completion that you can't articulate somebody else. So order and chaos always has to be balanced, and you can't have one and can't have the other, only one and only the other. And so I guess that's where the correlation of order and chaos
probably
comes
a
from.
lot of people obviously can't balance that or have a hard time
Yeah.
balancing that.
Yeah. Yeah, the audiobook stuff, man, it's
So what got you spicy from reading that?
Oh, I was just excited about you. 'Cause I love learning new stuff.
Yeah.
Like that. Hey, we're going to take a quick break from this episode and thank the sponsors of today's episode, Flex Seal. Guys, let's be honest. Sometimes I build, but a lot of times I fix it. That's especially true with the arrival of spring. When the snow melts, it often leaves the damage it leaves behind, and sometimes those tough repairs need high-performance products. So, when I need to patch a hole in the roof or repair a fence post or seal up cracks and holes winter leaves behind in my gutters, I trust the Flex Seal family of products. Why? Well, because it works. I have personally made both indoor and outdoor repairs using Flex Seal products, and let me tell you, man, do they get it done. From springtime fixes to car and RV repairs, there's no better or faster way to make reliable fixes than Flex Seal. So next time you're ready to take on spring fixes, make sure you're prepared to repair with Flex Seal. Because it works, head over to flexsealproducts.com and check out their entire line of powerful products today. Now let's get back into this episode. Yeah, no, a human attention span, there's people who are, again, practicing order, are knowing that, like I remember somebody wrote on Instagram, they go, does anybody have a recommendation of a 20 to 30 minute podcast that I could potentially use for, like when I clean, that I could learn something in that 20 to 30 minutes?
Did you tell them next door neighbors?
Well, they're not 30 minutes. We'll have to shorten something. But
they're at least 30 minutes.
But that was a great example of somebody who's trying to be efficient and saying, I don't want to turn on a song because I kind of blank out and just feel something. I want to learn something. So the hunger for solid content of information is there's a lot of hunger for it.
And I think it also makes the time go by faster than listening to music. If you think about it, like you get lost in the story or the humor or whatever it is. And then you're like, oh, I finished my whole laundry basket of clothes. And now I'm done.
There's also, and I wonder, the reason there's a hunger for it, I wonder if it's because there's a equal correlation of hunger for human connection. And though, how can a human be connected to a conversation or a dialogue?
They feel like they're part of it.
They feel like they're part of it. They feel like they're sitting there. And I think about us. We don't have a crazy level of education of psychology, science, or anything like that. So we're not, it's a lot of bro science here.
We have a lot of bro science.
So people don't tune in to learn something. Maybe a little bit will be from like, oh, okay, you guys are social media. Let me learn something about social media. But that's such a small percentage of the conversations. But people go, I want to be a part of whatever you guys are thinking and talking about and having the discussion.
That would make a lot of sense because I feel like a lot of the podcasts are just between, like, obviously it's usually at least two people and they're having a conversation. You do feel like you're part of it, which is, I mean, we do hunger for that as humans, for the connection, the community. Mm-hmm. So that would make a lot of sense why. Although, I mean, there's very like informative podcasts too. So like the true crime ones, it's not really like a dialogue, although a lot of them now are. But it's like more of a story, and I think people obviously still like that part of it too.
The story, the story part, and they're on a journey essentially. So it's the equivalency, I think, of like story time.
Yeah, or even like a movie or something, but it's audio. Right. Yeah,
they make you kind of feel experience something. It's human behavior is fascinating because we've created through millions of years of evolution. Some would say billions of years of evolution, the certain things that we cherish. And I'm not saying like family and things like that, but art, right? Something that, or humor, or the ability to tell a story.
Good food.
Well, like an experience, right? Mm-hmm. Like
it's all of emotion, right?
An emotion, right? And it's so the art of things we've grown to love and appreciate. I was actually thinking about this today, like stand-up comedians. People are paying a lot of money to laugh, to forget, to experience joy in a setting. And essentially, people are paying money to feel something.
Yeah.
The same way somebody was paying money.
If you say it that way, it sounds a little sad.
Well, there's nothing wrong about it.
No, it's just the way you said it. People are paying money to feel something.
Yeah, and I stand behind that, because if you think about people, you have to teach people how to experience things, like how to feel things, right? How does a child know when they did something wrong that they really hurt somebody's feelings, if they weren't kind of led and shepherded, I guess, through the good and the bad and the ugly.
Yeah, the emotions involved.
So I think people have to be taught to feel and to experience. And I think the reason they have to be taught is because in the world that we live, where I think everything happens at such a fast pace, again, this is like a full circle conversation, that we're bad about like slowing down, stopping, and just being present in it, right? I remember I had well, we both kind of did. When we first got married, we'd only watch comedy stuff. Mm-hmm. Just because I was like, the world's dark enough, and I don't want to watch any dramas or thrillers or anything like that. I just want to, like, at the end of the day, kick back, relax, watch something.
You also had a different, work.
Yeah, I worked at the hospital, sure.
So
yeah.
you were around the stress. So you didn't want to watch the stress.
Right. That's a great point. Yeah. So yeah, when you're around the drama constantly, you want to be able to like
I've already had a really heavy day. The last thing I want to watch is something heavy.
Exactly. Yeah. But now I catch myself like telling myself to like watch things that make me feel sadness, make me feel that there is somebody was wronged, and I don't want to experience those things, but I'm teaching myself to like slow down, stop, and be present in whatever emotion that's happening right there.
Let yourself cry.
Let yourself cry.
Let the tears flow.
So I think that's why creating content is such a fun thing. It's the same thing as if you and I are having this conversation. So sociology, we're studying human behavior, and then we're creating content to be able to cater to that.
Right.
And it sounds like a mischievous like approach, because you're like, how dare you psychoanalyze me and then create content that I would want to watch. It's like it's the equivalency of maybe a girl going, how dare he reads my journal to find out what my ideal guy is, and then makes himself that ideal guy, like tricks me when that's really not him. So that's not like that. But it's more of like we study of how we interact. And so what Kyle and I do is all the time, we'll make a video, and then I'll be like, I think the pace needs to be like tidied up just a little bit, because a human likes to, okay, it's going. Okay, something else is happening. They don't want too many lulls unless it's like a dramatic thing where now the music takes you on this experience of like somebody's behind that door. And so they're gonna get at that point, the storyline slows down a little bit, but they're walking you through an emotion. Nobody's watching YouTube videos for an emotion unless it's like a nice, happy thing.
True.
And then, we'll study, again, we'll look at the bell curve of the audience retention on videos, and we'll be like, hey, people are dropping off after 30 seconds. What are we doing that's causing the majority of the people to drop off at 30 seconds? And then we change it. Like, in fact, after last time we did that, we were like, so if you look at the curve, the graph starts to on the left side is from 0 to 100, right? It goes on top. That's 100%. And then on the bottom of the graph, it's the minute marks from 0 to, let's say, 22 minutes of video would be. And then from the very top, so somebody clicks on the video, everything's at 100, but it drops down like at a skate park, the ramp, like a drop down ramp into like a half pipe.
It's called a half pipe.
So it'll drop down with every second, like, because maybe somebody clicked it and maybe they accidentally like didn't mean to click on it. And so, but it levels out very quickly, and it levels out because there's people who are like, no, this is what I was here for, and I'm going to watch it. And the golden rule is like, stay at 50% as much as you can. Obviously you can get higher, but stay at 50. And so at the 30-minute mark, I kept seeing that our numbers were like 68%.
30-minute mark?
A 30-second mark.
Oh.
It was like, because on YouTube, in order for a video to register as a full view, they have to be there for 30 seconds. Okay.
Interesting.
So you see, at first I saw it was like 68%. And then I go, what are we doing that's causing them to go? And so I looked at every video we created. Well, not every, maybe like 20. So I had a good pool to take from. And one correlation I saw was the way we used to shoot videos was like, hey guys, today I'm going to show you how to take this and turn into that. Or hey guys, today we're going to tackle this. And then let's get into the video. And then the intro would start, right? The little was it 20 seconds that our intro was? Do you remember?
I think so.
20 seconds. So 20-second cool intro that was done by a professional. Like, it's good production value that you see, like, let's say on a TV show, right? There's a little jingle. and that was the 30-second mark.
Oh.
So people they got distracted, right? So they were like,
intro, okay.
So we got them hooked, and then now there's an intro, and then they go, I don't want to waste time on this intro, so they get out of there, right? It's the same way if you would be fast forwarding through a commercial.
Right.
So we got rid of that intro, and we said, hey guys, today we're going to do this, and then we get into it, right? We cut that intro part out. I saw today was like 80%. We're retaining 80%. That's studying human behavior and then creating content that best fits the way their brain, I guess, processes information.
Yeah. Huh. I mean, that makes sense when you're watching a show, and then now you can skip the intro on every Netflix show, and you do it. You're like, where's the remote?
Exactly.
Our attention span, we don't want to wait if we don't have to.
But it's wild is that, so if you and I right now, we're watching The Last Kingdom, right? So we're watching The Last Kingdom, and it still has the introduction, right? And we could skip it or not, but even if we couldn't skip it, we're not going to be like, well, I guess I'm not watching the Last Kingdom
YouTube is different, is because people are just clicking and clicking and clicking. If you're there to watch a show like on Netflix, you've already like settled in, you're like started it. But I think YouTube is such a different world because you can get distracted by another video, especially if you're on like a computer and you see like the sidebar. You're like, oh, I'll just click on that, and you keep going and going and going, because I've done that myself.
The sidebar is a brilliant feature. And it's designed to give you too much information, right? So if there's only a limited amount of things you can watch, you're going to go and figure out what you watch. But if you have an endless amount of information, so for example, we didn't have cable when we were growing up, cable TV. So we only had like 12 local channels, right? So I knew that channel 4, channel 6, channel 7, and 13, Fox, was where majority of the cool shows were. Right. And then we would go, like even right now, I'll catch myself. We still don't have cable, but then like I'll catch myself going when we'll stay at a hotel, and I'm like sitting on the couch, and there's 500 channels, and I'll click and I'll go, I've never seen that. Well, let me see if there's something else. If there's not, I'll come back to it. And I'll click and I'll find something else. Maybe not as good, but I have a round 2 or a plan B. But then I end up catching myself going way too far down the list that I forgot where the first 2 options were and where they were. So I mean, there's too much information out there.
And it's like, you're not going to ever remember it. Yeah. It's crazy. The YouTube world.
Well, I think it's just content world, period. I mean, you're on TikTok. We're just scrolling.
That's what it is. You just keep going and going. Yeah.
It's human.
And I think, they've made it so easy to do that. Right. You literally just swipe up with your thumb if you just don't want to watch the video anymore. Or with Instagram, you're swiping the other way.
There's a lot of planning for all of this stuff, and you never watch this documentary because you never watch any documentary. I
do,
except the ones that you were recommended. But The Social Dilemma is probably one of the best ones out there. That's so accurate, where they're breaking down social media and human behavior, but the people who are talking about it are some of the earlier developers of Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, Twitter, and something else. I think Snapchat.
Probably. It was big for a long time.
But it's the people who are on the team that that were key roles in developing a certain feature of it. So it's not necessarily Mark Zuckerberg talking about how why he created Facebook or why Facebook works. It's more of like the design engineers. Like one guy, he's the guy that invented the like button, and he would talk about in this documentary of like the transformation that they saw in human behavior when the like button was put. Then another person, let's say on Pinterest, the change they saw when it was like only exclusive to invite only to this platform, to what happened when anybody can join it kind of thing. Like,
was there always a like button on Instagram or in the
all
early?
of it was developed and Instagram wasn't Instagram. Instagram used to be another app before they changed it. First of all, Instagram used to be like when they started.
It was called something else. Is that
it was called
saying?
something else.
Yeah.
But then once it became Instagram, it was known to people. It was only basically for photographers.
Yeah.
And the whole thing was you're supposed to use pictures that didn't have a filter on it.
Yeah, it was supposed to be like iPhone only kind of thing.
Exactly. So it kind of showcased. And then when they invented stories, stories didn't take off.
I know, because they were trying to like compete with Snapchat, and nobody like.
No.
Stories. No. That's what Snapchat is.
Stories. Maybe it was motivated by creation, but the thing is, when stories came out, the people thought that you're supposed to put something that was memorable in your day. Something special happened in your day, and that's where stories were supposed to go.
Well, I think in the beginning, because people were confused by them.
That's exactly. And then their marketing team had to repush it to be like, no, this is just a quicker way of like unprepped content that you can just throw up.
Well, and it was because I remember when stories first came out, everybody was just dogging on it because it was like
on it.
Yeah,
you're so hip. You're so hip. No, it's you use it appropriately, but you just I think
that
like
was back in the 90s.
That was the early
2000s.
Yeah.
Everybody was kind of like
that was sick. That was sick.
Wicked.
Yeah, that was wicked.
Everybody was kind of like, why would we use this? This is exactly like Snapchat. We already use Snapchat. Why would we use this? And then over time, I think as they kept pushing it, people were like, oh, this is actually kind of nice to be able to stay on one platform and to be able to do this. Because people would be like, follow me on Snapchat if you want to see like some of my like day-to-day stuff. And then it took off. Yeah. But I still remember people were like not on board.
Yeah, I mean,
with
people
the stories.
are not on board on a lot of things.
And even Reels. I feel like when Reels or IGTV first came out, it's like the change is so hard for us. But then once we get it like accustomed to it, everybody loves it and is all for it. Like Reels are taking over Instagram right now.
They are. I feel like on Facebook, it never really, it clicked. Like, what do they call them on Facebook, Kyle?
They're called
Reels?
I think so.
Because Facebook owns Instagram.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
Same. I feel like they're a little bit more on Facebook, not as like out like in your face, because you still see posts first, and then the Reels would kind of be like in the middle of the like once you scroll a little bit. I feel like now if I'm just gonna be scrolling through my feed, it's real, like barely any posts in there.
Yeah. Sometimes it's annoying, and I get it where these companies are coming from. I get it that they're going, hey, it's working on that platform. We should do it here.
Well, and like TikTok, they're like trying to,
right?
Yeah,
but
TikTok, if it's working for TikTok, why can't we do it?
And exactly. I know where the strategy comes from, but I think what a lot of people are also not realizing is that, and I see this amongst like audiences on different platforms that I have, just because let's say you have a significant following, let's say on Instagram, right? Let's say you have 100,000 followers on Instagram. And you go, one day somebody convinces you to start a YouTube channel, and you go, okay, I'll start a YouTube channel. And then you post to your people on Instagram, be like, hey guys, go follow me on the next slide to my Instagram account where I'll create these videos. A significantly small percent of people are going to go there.
Yeah. It's like 5%.
It's like 5% or less. And that is because every platform creates different kind of content, and there are different kind of audiences.
Yep.
The overlap of audience is very small. And so I think
I think people don't realize.
People don't realize, and I think the features. That's why I don't like similarities in features. Like I don't like the fact that there's Instagram Reels, and then you can also do Reels on Facebook. When I go on Facebook, I want to see the people that I had some kind of social connection with, high school people, friends from out of state. I want to see those things. I want to see family stuff. Those are like relationships network.
Yeah.
And then when
not
I go
the viral reels that are everywhere.
Correct. When I go on Instagram,
platforms.
I want to see, I'm looking for different kind of content. I'm looking for people that I've never met, content creators that I've never met, and who are documenting things that people that I've never met. So those are the woodworking channels. Those are car stuff, and so then when I go on TikTok, I want to see, again, people I've never met, but I want to see the video aspect of it.
And you want to see like the funny,
you
laugh kind of
the
stuff.
entertainment aspect, the video part of it. And so I think if it stayed just like that, I think I would.
But they're trying to, because they're seeing what works for somebody else, and they think, well, yeah, let's do that too. I think it's super interesting that everybody that I've seen ask their followers, do you prefer pictures or reels? Almost everybody majority of the people always say pictures. But you don't see that like correlation with the amount of people actually liking photos anymore. So I'm like, if you would rather see photos in your feed, so many people like wrote comments like, I hate reels, or like reels are okay, but I love seeing the pictures because I love like being able to see the detail. When it's a reel, sometimes you don't get to see, like the detail in the picture. And then, people are just people have a lot of opinions. But what I think is interesting is, even though so many people are saying I love pictures more, I feel like across the board, I've seen people's likes on their pictures and comments significantly go down. Besides, like
when they're pictures,
yeah.
Right.
I mean, for myself, for sure. And then I've seen like, just in general, like, people with like the same kind of amount of following as me. And I'm like, what, then why aren't you liking the pictures? Are people just not liking pictures anymore? Do they kind of just scroll through them?
Pictures are old. Pictures are out. Pictures are racist, actually. Pictures are white supremacists.
I'm like, maybe reels ruin that, because with reels, you watch it and you just kind of scroll through. And maybe people because they've been doing that with reels, they're doing that with pictures. They're just kind of looking at it. Oh, that's cute. And people, what you used to like, now you just scroll through it.
Okay, so let me ask you this. This is your scientific experiment that you did or somebody else did. And
my deep dive.
Let's take this wild, vote of this pool of people. Do you like pictures or videos? Okay, so there are people who used to buy magazines. Yes. And those people don't buy magazines anymore. Mm-hmm. Now, some still do. Now, so what that tells you is that society evolved from going, we bought magazines, but now we could just watch Instagram or watch something on an app or read that article online, or see that Better Homes and Garden stuff on Pinterest, right? Mm-hmm. You can see that. Now, there are still people who are buying magazines, but that pool of people is constantly shrinking. But it's also, when you ask a majority of people, from a pool of people, let's say, whatever, how many followers that person has, 100,000 followers, just for sake of examples. And you see all these answers and you go, well, it seems like vast majority of people want this. Well, out of how many people that follow that person, how many people stopped and decided to put in their 2 cents? Just the people who want to be heard. Maybe there's a few people who are like, oh, this is a great conversation, so maybe, yeah, I'll put in my 2 cents. Meaning, like, the amount of people who comment on things is so much smaller than the amount of people who saw your piece of content.
Right.
So that's not an accurate assessment of things. I remember I did this experiment when I was just starting up on the YouTube channel, and I was obviously replicating videos that I saw of other content creators before I figured out my own voice and my own style. Mm-hmm. And I remember being inspired by Casey Neistat, who's a vlogger in New York, and I started shooting my content vlog style. And then, but before the vlog style, I did the voiceover stuff. Mm-hmm. And I remember in my YouTube videos, a few of them, I did like, hey, do you guys like vlog style, or do you guys like more of like just do the work and, do a voiceover? And let's say, I don't know how many people answered, but let's say it was like 100 people, because my channel was pretty small at the time. 100 people of, let's say, a channel of like 15,000 followers, 100 people decided to put in their 2 cents. Mm-hmm. That's not an accurate assessment of which direction I should take my channel, because it's only 100 people of 15,000 people who decided to cast their vote in.
Well, they decided to cast their vote, so their vote means something.
They are heard.
Everybody else who didn't cast a vote,
it's a different story if you go 15,000 people that follow me. You guys have to.
Yeah.
But you can't. But you can't. So what you can do is go through the analytics of your app, whichever platform you're using as a content creator. And then from there, it'll give you percentages. Mm-hmm. For example, like it'll tell you how many % of viewers that saw your content were your followers, right? Mm-hmm. And so like you can break everything down. So just because you got, let's say, a low number of, or a high number of views on a video. You're like, my audience loves this video. You got to look how many people saw from your audience. It might only be like 38% of your audience saw this. Everything else was just catered to, like, these are brand new people. And then you don't know if they even subscribe or not. Some will. Obviously they will. But
that's why I always gauge on the likes and like comments, because I feel like most of, if it's somebody, not always, but if it's somebody following you, they'll usually, if they really like your content or your video, they'll comment or at least like it. Like a lot of the comments I got on this video
I watched
that I posted today was from my followers.
Mm-hmm. But so, how many, you have a substantial following, and I'm sure you have plenty of comments, but how close was that relation of the number of people who commented?
Do you want me to count them?
Yeah.
Well, there's so many.
It'll tell you. I mean,
I just can't count.
So let's say 1,000 people. You have 40,000 followers, right? 44?
No.
A million?
Yeah.
You have
1 point.
You have 40, right?
No.
What are you at?
I have 33.
Oh, you're 33. Oh.
Gosh, way to make me feel worse.
No, that should be a compliment. That should be like, you should be so much more.
That does not make me feel better.
No? Oh,
you should be so much more further along than you are.
Listen, I know, I know the feeling. I've been stuck at like 88,000 for a while.
I think I saw you hit 89.
80? No, I just hit 88.
Oh.
So I know the feeling, like I should be way more, but I'm not. It's frustrating.
I should be closer to 100. Oh my gosh.
So, I don't know.
You started before me, so I don't care. Someday.
Listen, it's okay. These are just numbers. It doesn't matter.
But
some might say it measures your level of success.
What? Say that again.
Some might say it measures your level of success.
Well, I was going to say
I'm
also.
Joking, it doesn't. What were you going to say?
What was I going to say? Oh, it's interesting also that like the amount of views or engagement or followers or likes or comments you get on a specific video or photo really affects like your mood and just, what do they call it? Is it the serotonin that like makes you feel better when you get like a certain amount of likes? Anyway, I think that's so interesting because it's people you don't know, who you've never met before, but for some reason our brain is like, is it that community that we were talking about earlier where you feel like you belong or you feel like somebody like approves your stuff is like worth it, you have value? What is it that makes us feel so good when people like our stuff? Like when I see a video doing really well, I'm like, I feel like good. I like, am I in a good mood? And then if I see a video not doing so well, it doesn't affect me as much if it doesn't do well, because I'm just like, whatever, you know. It's not like I get in a bad mood, but I do notice the shift in my like.
I think it's a human reward system, right? So and I think animals have the same kind of.
But what's the reward? There is no reward.
Well, it's just
views.
It's a feedback loop. We all like. In our subconscious, we have a feedback loop, and that feedback loop is like, when I do this happens. We do that that's how dogs would be trained, right? Dogs would be like, if you're working with them to do something, once they're done, there is a treat, and that treat is also the incentive, right? So I think with people,
is the treat the approval of people?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's just that feedback loop that's there. We created something, we put something out there, and we were vulnerable about it. Yeah. And somebody gave you that little like or that little comment or the subscribe button, and that's your treat. That's you. Now I don't think it's anything bad because we share that DNA with even animals, but I think
it's just evolved into social media because that's our life.
Of course. Yeah. There's even feedback loops Jordan Peterson talks about in like alcoholism, drug use, where a person doesn't feel good, takes this thing, now they feel good. That's a feedback loop. So that's where the addictive personality starts kicking in, where they go, I just want to constantly be in this
feeling that way,
pleasant feeling of that feedback loop. So now, I don't think there's anything bad about being excited about it. I think what a person has to get good at doing, especially if they're in the world of social media, And if you haven't listened to this podcast, the last podcast with Andrew Blazer, the Olympic athlete who was on the podcast last week, he shared a great point on identity, from being an elite athlete in the Olympics but not medaling, and how do you define that as a success or failure?
Right.
And he figured it out. He figured out a way to look at that as you have to redefine what success is.
Right.
And that was a great perspective. So I think,
because for us, if we make it to Olympics,
right. So
that's success.
Right.
But for a person that's been training to not medal, that's
right.
a little bit different.
He gave like 10, 15 years of his life to get there. Now,
interesting.
Here's what I think person has to be aware of is if you are persistent and obsessive, you will create content that will be viewed by a lot of people. We'll call the word viral, right? But there's also going to be a time that it slows down. Now, that's just part of anything, right? Everything slows down. Doesn't mean it goes away. It just means it slows down or plateaus. You have to be good about working your way through those moments. A lot of people will give up or quit, but if you're going to be as excited about something that does really well, you have to be okay about being content when things doesn't do well, and then figure out of how to make it do well. I think that's the part that people go, yeah, I'm excited. I got the like, I got the views, it went viral. And then they keep doing it, and everything keeps going downhill, and people go, whatever.
I'm done.
The algorithm doesn't like me anymore. And you've had those conversations with me too. You're like,
definitely.
oh, it's because I didn't post as much, and you were discouraged, right? You would fool people and be like, oh, I just don't care. But deep down inside,
you get discouraged when
if we measure your serotonin levels.
Well, did you?
well,
because if you're like your output of like how much you're working is so much, and then you're seeing nothing, like no, I guess, reward of that, or if you're gonna measure, you're seeing no fruit of your labor.
Yeah, but doesn't that happen? I think that's exactly what happens. We get discouraged by no fruit of the labor. But you have to look in perspective of like how athletes act, right? Athletes are training and are constantly doing these rigorous exercises, and they're not seeing the fruits. If you're trying to build muscle, you're not going to see it every single day.
Right.
What's going to end up happening is you're going to have a consistent regimen. You're going to work out 6 days a week, eat properly 6 days a week, and then you're only going to see the results one day, 6 months, a year from there. You're going to look in the mirror without a shirt on, and you're going to go, oh, snaps. I did improve. But when you're constantly staring at that mirror every day, you don't see any change. So the same thing that happens when you're creating content is like, hey, your job is to figure out the content that people want to watch. And if people are not watching it, keep thinking and figuring out. But if you give up right now, then you're being irrational, and you're being selfish with which kind of reward systems you're going for.
It's the perseverance.
I only want the rewards. I don't want the hard work. The hard work is yes, doing the work, but the hard work is also the mental aspect of it.
Yeah.
That's hard work. It's easy to do the hard work physically. I'm just going to build stuff. I'm just going to create stuff. That's easy. The hard part is the conversations you have in your brain and be like, hey, don't think about it. That's not a failure. That's that's the hard work.
Definitely. Because that mental stress and getting in your own head is what makes a lot of people, I think, stop or fail or quit.
Yeah.
You don't want to be in that headspace. You'd rather just be like, I'm done. I don't want to do it.
Yeah. And the reward system's also good too, because that's what's been driving, I think, humanity to create anything or invent anything, is when they not only get likes, when they get followers, but also when they see their products being demanded, right? Whether you're creating Tesla or microwaves or whatever it is like you're part of this journey of this up and down emotional roller coaster. That's what causes or drives people to create, to invent, to, further society. Mm-hmm. So I think people need to look at it as a bigger picture than just this very macro, tight lens. Right. Where they at. Pull back.
Where they at.
So that concludes today's lecture on the social dilemma.
I love how you said we don't really talk about social media that often. It's a little snippet. I feel like we talk about it every episode.
And then it's like, how much time do you have? I'd love to talk to you about something.
Well, this is our life, so it's like what we talk about on the daily anyway.
Right.
Just, out to dinner, or you and I. So
speaking of which, I was going to tell you, we should do a date night soon.
Oh, thank you. You finally asked me.
You want to?
I was waiting for you to.
Were you really?
Me. Yeah, because I feel like I've asked you the last 5 to 10 times.
You do.
I have.
No, you do. Agree? You really do. I said you do. Easy.
I was gonna cut you off because I was waiting for you. Hey, no, you didn't.
Easy. Stand down. Stand down. Have you been planning for this conversation?
I've been planning for this moment.
Interesting.
Is he gonna ask me? Because I always feel like, hey, we should do a date night.
I love date nights. I love them all the time. But I'm lazy to ask, but I'm always up to going.
You're always up for going. You just haven't asked in a while. I think your mind is just, you've been preoccupied with all the projects.
This is why we don't fight.
Why?
We don't fight because you are very gracious towards me, and you always see the
other side.
You're not pessimistic. You're like, oh, he's probably because
he's just so busy.
Yeah, you give me the benefit of the doubt kind of thing.
He cheated on me because he probably just wasn't feeling good that day.
I don't make dinner, and it's my fault. No, but with the date night thing is, I'm always up for it. To me, yes, I think I'm always thinking about way too many things that I forget to hey, we should do this, because at the end of the day, I just always want to I always look for I cannot wait to just be on the couch after this is done and cleaned up.
And I just feel like in the last, I don't know, since this year started with us being sick, all of us, since January basically, and then on top of that, all your projects, you've been doing a lot of big projects. I just feel like it's been really busy in the last 2-3 months for us. So
for sure. And
I forgive you. But I'm glad you asked.
But also, I feel like, and this is not an excuse, but I guess the way my brain processes information is, I go, well, it's so much nicer when she calls for a date night because she's the one that's figuring out childcare.
Mm-hmm. But I want to be asked.
I know. I'm wrong for that. So would you go on the date night with me this Saturday? Irina Alexandra Mazukin, would you do me the honor of going on a date with me?
1,000 times yes.
She said yes, Kyle. She said yes. And we break into a song.
Confetti?
Yeah.
Date nights are fun.
Yeah, they're really fun. What do you have you dabbled in this whole Johnny Depp, Amber Heard, rascal business that's going on
I've
the
seen
news?
a couple articles and saw a few videos on it too. What do you think?
Well, I actually had to you saw it everywhere in the news, but I tried to figure out exactly. Is it one of those things who said what first?
Then so I was trying to figure out first she claimed that.
So first, the way I read it was that she did an op-ed for, I think, the Washington Post, right? Meaning she gave what is it? A statement, or did a whole article. I don't know how extensive what an op-ed. I'm not sure what an op-ed is, but and I don't know if I'm using the right subject, but touching along the lines of being vague without specifying anybody's names, that she's a victim of domestic violence.
Yes. Yeah.
Now, she's been married to Johnny Depp for 7-8 years or something like that. So she did that. So, but she didn't specify names. So, but people are assuming it's because she was married to him. Then Johnny Depp came back and sued her for defaming him, even though they never said anything. And then he said also that she was domestically abusing him.
Right.
As well. So she would throw a TV remote at his head. She would push him and shove him. And then she showed up to, I think, court with a black eye.
Right.
And then he shared a story about her.
So now it's who said what?
That she pooped on their marriage bed on his side.
I haven't heard that.
You never heard that one?
Oh, man.
And to see this actor trying to hold it together in the court of law to paint this picture.
Oh, no.
By the way, do you know that Johnny Depp is born in the United States from a little country town in Oklahoma or something like that, and he speaks with this British accent?
Yeah. Wait, he doesn't have a British accent, does he?
He's talking like this.
He kind of, it's kind of a weird mixture of stuff.
He's still Captain Jack Sparrow. Yeah. That's how he's talking.
Was that because he's played like that role for so long? He just kind of like adopted it.
I think that's what Hollywood does. I think what Hollywood does is you're special if you have this
something different.
You wear a lot of rings and a lot of scarves, and you're very abstract about your thinking, and you're very fluid with a lot of things, and you cool create yourself.
Accent. It doesn't sound like it's from anywhere.
When you're a good actor, you create characters. You tend to kind of create your own character, what in real life that you are. But so their whole thing is a bunch of like he said, she said.
Who abused who? Or they both like? It seems like they were both. There was some domestic abuse between both of them.
It sounds like
a very toxic.
It's
relationship.
It's the whole like marriage gets bitter or better, right? It sounds like it's a marriage that's been going on that only got bitter and bitter and bitter, and then it got to the point where the bitterness just kind of exploded when they started attacking each other. Right? Because I think if somebody, but then also a big question is she suing, when she said that about him, keep in mind, she didn't say like his specifics name or anything like that. Did she do that because she wanted to be identified in the world of like a domestic violence victim? Not that anybody would want to like chase that clout, but did she do that because she wanted to be heard? It's like whenever some kind of social injustice happens, people want to identify with, or they want to be, what do they call them? They want to be like a spokesperson for it, you know?
Oh, yeah.
So did she want to just feel more special as an actress?
Because didn't she come out with that statement like long after they were already like, were they still married? Weren't they already divorced when she left him?
I would imagine listen, if you are writing an op-ed like that while being married, chances are you're gonna be divorced.
What's an op-ed?
Are you opinion piece?
Yeah, opinion editorial maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, well, I'm sure it's like your hot take on a particular subject.
Because he hasn't been cast in a major film since then. 2018.
So now here's my question. Okay, so let's say they're divorced. This happens. She sued him.
He's calling her a liar that he didn't do that. Yeah.
The defaming part is an interesting lawsuit, unless the marriage ended in a lot of bitterness, which I'm sure it did if they have so much pent up stuff they're having.
Right.
It's like how do you? First of all, there's no reconciling that marriage.
Right.
That's said and done. But there has to be a better way to handle things like this.
I know.
Than passive aggressive, like, you know, you did this when we were married and you did that. Like, I feel like when it's marriage, when somebody's domestically being abused currently, then process them, you know, do what you need to do to make sure that justice is served.
Yeah.
Right.
Person's safe.
If this is something that happened in your previous marriage and you're no longer married to that person, shouldn't it be just kind of dismissed at that point, where it's like, unless it was a horrific, like, listen, you rape somebody, that's a crime that was committed. But if somebody threw a remote at your head or somebody shoved you, then you get out of that marriage and you go with a better relationship, right? Can you really bring that back in? You know what I mean? In like the court of law to settle it.
They think they can.
And another thing, defaming somebody and legally, like, you can sue somebody for defamation.
I know. I didn't know that.
That is the stupidest thing to sue somebody over. That you know how they say, like, you can sue anybody for anything, right? Like, because
what would be her reasoning to come forth, just to get fame?
That was a big thing. Is like, did she just want to have a really good?
That would be so is he saying, oh, she like,
maybe she just wanted to be a social justice warrior or
it was either it's true and she was trying to like be heard, or like the only other, I don't know, did she want?
But also, because she never mentioned his name, that shouldn't be grounds for suing, right? Because you could be like, well, I never mentioned who, and you're like, well, well, maybe it's the relationship before him. You know what I mean?
I will not say who it is, but he played Jack Sparrow in the Pirates of the Caribbean.
Yeah, I'm not gonna say who it is, but here's a clue. Arg. He sailed ships. So I think there's a lot of things in our court systems that we allow for people to be prosecuted for, and I don't think that's fair. I don't think you should be able to willy-nilly, and not to compare this because I don't know what the level of their relationship was and how true a lot of these allegations are, but you shouldn't be able to be like, I don't like my neighbor Stan, I'm suing Stan. Like, yes, you'll go to court, both of you will spend a bunch of money on court fees, but then the judge goes, hey, it don't matter, you don't win, right?
I'm sure it's logistics. Like, he's saying, well, I haven't been cast in a movie since 2018. I need to sue her because obviously it was about me. So I think it does come down to like details and like, was it obvious that she was talking about you, or could it have been somebody else?
Here's a good rule of thumb.
He sued her for $50 million, and then she had a counterclaim for $100 million against him. And
then he's like, I see your 100
damaging her reputation. He's like, oh my goodness. Yeah. So it'll be interesting because this has been going on. The actual like trial has been going on for a while, right?
Nobody's talking about Ukraine anymore because of this.
This is the new hot topic. News.
Yeah, listen, man. Here's a good rule of thumb that I like to stick by: don't push or shove or hit.
Yeah.
Anybody, unless you're trying to protect yourself from immediate danger. That's a good rule of thumb. And then if you are with somebody who did push you or shove you, get out of that relationship. So.
Also, Johnny Depp is old.
He's like 58, isn't he? Or
he
60.
Looks old. Like when I saw him in the videos, I was like, oh.
Yeah.
Remember when everybody's like obsessed with him when he was Jack Sparrow?
Yeah, he's got chubby. He's gotten chubby.
Yeah, his little ponytail.
Full face, yeah. Also, cut the ponytail, okay?
He's probably had that for a long time.
Yeah, I'm sure he's always had long hair. Hey, listen, this has been fun.
Well, now I'm going to have to go read some more of it or watch it.
Yeah, really do a deep dive, huh?
Research.
Yeah. All right, folks. Thanks for tuning in. Watch the YouTubes.
Watch the tubes.
We'll catch you in the next one. Thanks.
Bye. Bye.